How's it going, guys? This is Scott from Code 4 Performance. It is July 28th, and in about a week, my nephew and I head out on our Grit 3 Ridaho challenge, which is a 5-day ride starting in Chalice, make a over 600-mile loop back to Chalice over 5 days. And this is my bike. Just finished up some maintenance, spooned on some new tires this morning, got it all packed, and we're ready to roll here towards the end of this week coming up. The bike that I'm going to be riding this year is a 2021 300 XCW TPI. The plastics, obviously, if you're familiar with 21s, that's not the same plastics. Those are 2020 XC plastics or SX plastics. I can't remember. I just like the white, so that's what's on that bike. My nephew, he'll be riding a 2019 300 XC carbureted bike. Kickstarter, all the rudimentary carburetor. Yeah, just kind of a lucky guy, but we'll be fine. I've had really no issues with the TPI platform. You just need to stay on top of your maintenance. And this bike's got 110, 120 hours on it, I think. So at the end of this riding season, I plan on doing a top end on this bike, and I'm going to sell it next spring. I'm going to update to a TBI XCW, so stay tuned for more on that. But this is my bike of choice, and I'm super happy with it. I love this bike. In the mountains, the gnarly stuff, man, you can't beat the XCW. It's great. Part of the Grit rules is you are encouraged to carry a chainsaw. One of our team members at least needs to carry it, so I'm going to carry the saw. I carried it on the tour of Idaho in 2022 on my 350, and so this mount directly bolts over. This is the Bill Dart saw mount. If you're not familiar with Bill Dart, very simple aluminum 90-degree platform, so to speak, that bolts to the upper triple clamp and the bottom triple clamp, and very close to the front of the forks, so you don't have the saw hanging way out to the front. It's just a great mount. It's very solid mounted. The saw doesn't even move in there. It's quick bungee straps to get it out. Yeah, Bill Dart is an excellent saw mount. I'm running a Echo CS2511 upgraded to a 14-inch bar. I use this saw on the tour of Idaho, and I use it for clearing here. Heavy clearing, this saw is not big enough. I mean, I'll tell you, it's a cute little saw to carry on your bike, and really, like, you can ride all day long with it. And I did it over the tour over a course of 13 days, so it's a great saw just to have. Anyway, there are better saws out there if you're going to be specifically riding to clear trails, your stills, 16-inch bar saws, obviously. But that's the saw we're going to take on the Grit. It'll be just fine. Not worried a bit about that. For the lighting, because the saw mount takes place of the headlight mask, I actually run a Baja S1 here and a second one over here wired into the KTM stock headlight plug, and just on and off with your switch. Both of them on. For the tour, on my 350, I ran the S1, one here and one over here. One on in low beam, both on in high beam, and it worked fantastic for the tour. This setup here is actually a moto-minded solution they come up with. They've probably been out about a year, but it's called their Rad Light. So these are my S1s from my tour bike, but I bought their Rad Light mounts, which mount to the radiator guard. These are bulletproof radiator guards. They make a mount for that. It's kind of hard to see down in here, but there's a little bit better view. And they also make a mount for the stock headlight, stock radiator guards, if that's what you're running. So check them out on Motobina's website. It's called their Rad Lights. They offer plenty of light. You might think that they're blocked by the forks, but they're really not. I mean, there's full lock. It still shines through here. And this way, you still miss the fender here. I am going to take a helmet-mounted light, another which is their moto-minded setup with a single S1 powered off a battery pack, an anti-gravity micro start pack, which will go in my vest that I wear. So lighting setup should be spot on. As far as fuel tank goes, I've got a 3.1 Acerbis tank on this bike with bulletproofed. When I say bulletproofed, you get rid of the plastic tank outlet and put the aluminum, billet aluminum on there. I've got the Golan quick disconnect, or excuse me, Golan fuel filter with CPC quick disconnect. I've got a TPS guard on there, AXP skid plate, Fastway pegs. I've had these on there since I've had the bike new, but they're great. I just updated the chain sprockets, stock gearing. Dirt Tricks counter shaft washer is really a great upgrade. Works on both the 4-strokes and the 2-strokes with the bolt-on front sprocket. Tires, I'm running a Bridgestone X31 in the front in the 9100 size, the fatty. In the back, I've got a Shinko 520 DC. DC stands for dual compound, which means the center lugs are more of a gummy. The outer are a little bit more rigid. It's a great tire. It should give us good mileage over the 5 days. We'll be going about, for the Grit 3, will be 650, give or take a little bit, 650 over the 5 days. We start in Chalice and we end in Chalice, making a large loop. Suspension, MX Tech National Shock. I've had this on there since the bike was new. In the rear, so National Shock in the back, and Lucky Fork cartridges in the front. I have stepped up spring rates one step in both the front and the rear for the added weight of the chainsaw and the large tank and the gear on the back I'll be carrying. Seat concept seat. I've had that on there since the bike was new as well. It's an excellent seat. Let's see what else on the bike gear. Psycho wraps, full wrap handguards with the threaded bar inserts. As far as the inside portion of this, the Trail Tech mounting and all that, let's talk about that. So BRP handguard mounts in the inner here, or bar mounts, topped with a moto-minded stout mount, which incorporates some holes in the BRP handguard mounts with Trail Tech's aluminum dock. That is a must if you're running a Trail Tech. I think the complaints, and I've said this in other videos, the complaints people have with Trail Tech is that cheesy plastic dock that flexes and then you start to lose connection for power and ground and they don't charge anymore. So the aluminum dock does away with that. I've had people comment in other videos, well, your Trail Tech's exposed, and it is. I mean, you loop the bike out up and over and you land on the screen on a rock, yet you're gonna break it. The Grit 3 is not a race. Just like the Tour of Idaho, it's not a race. And if you're riding at race pace, bad things are gonna happen. It's just a ride to enjoy Idaho and the scenery, and it will be just fine. It made it 13 days on the Tour of Idaho, over 2,300 miles, just like you see it on my 350, same setup, zero problems. The Trail Tech, it's a pretty rudimentary system. Like, it's old technology, but it works. You have to have the ability, using some sort of a mapping program, to modify your maps and then extract or export those maps out of that mapping program onto an SD card, which then you import into the Trail Tech. I use CalTopo. It works great. I understand the system. You just have to know those limitations. I like the fact that the Trail Tech can offer you engine temperature on the bike, outside temperature on the bike. It has a distance trip meter on it, elevation. You can have RPM, although I don't think it's that accurate. Speed based off GPS is what I use. Yeah, I like the Trail Tech. It's been great for me, and that's what we're going to use on the Grit. My secondary form of backup will be a cell phone without service. I call it a burner phone. It'll be in here, backed up with the same maps that I have in my Trail Tech. I have a charge cord into this bag, which runs up behind to right here. I've just got that zip tied to the bars. And the Trail Tech and the USB are run only when the bike is running, and I've accomplished that through Takomoto's Power Relay Accessory Kit. You can watch one of the other videos for that about that, but the fuse block is down inside of the air box, so that feeds the USB for the phone and the Trail Tech off of that. In the air box, I've got 2 PC Racing filter skins, lightly oiled over a fresh filter. And then I've got an extra skin tucked away in one of the side bags. And right now Idaho is dry and dusty, so stay on top of your air filter maintenance. That's super important. But that's what's in the air box. I've got jump start leads for the anti-gravity battery pack that I'll carry with me, also in the air box. This bike also has a capacitor, so you can bump start the bike. The capacitor offers the voltage, 12 volts or whatever it is, to energize the fuel pump, so you can bump start it. Let's see, what did I miss on the bars? I think that's about it. Bulletproof radiator guards. I got a tow strap in here. When you take the headlight mask off for the chainsaw, you lose the brake line guide through the headlight mask, if you're familiar with that. So again, another moto-minded cool product is a 3D printed plastic brake line guide. Simple solution, zip ties around the upper fork tube and allows you to keep that brake line in check so it's not flopping all over the place. In the bags, so these are the new Giant Loop Mojave latest generation of bag, which roll top. These roll to close with a clip on each side, where the older version, which I used on the Tour of Idaho, are a zipper top. Similar in size of capacity, but these are a lot more durable material. You can collapse them down if you don't have as much stuff in them. Mounting is the same. Otherwise, I've got the Giant Loop tail rack, the aluminum rack on the back. It just offers a nice flat, a little more rigid platform when you're carrying the gas bags. In this side of the Mojave bags, I've got some equipment for the chainsaw, an extra chain, some bar oil, 2-stroke oil, the wrench to adjust the chain. I've also got 10 ounces of 2-stroke oil for the bike. I've got a water filter to filter water out of the streams to fill our bladder. An extra 21-inch tube is in there. And let's see what else is in that side. I think that's about it. Oh, my helmet headlight's in here, tucked away. Carrying 2 extra pronghorn straps. These are the 26-inch version on here. Gas bags. I've got a 1-gallon and a 2-gallon bag. I'm probably only going to carry the 1-gallon with me. I've got them both packed on here for now. Some final map prep, I will decide on that, but for sure the 1-gallon will go with me. And that, like I say, we'll just strap on here. Empty that in as soon as you can fit a gallon in your bike. On this side, I've got my night clothes, which are shorts, a pair of lightweight shorts, a t-shirt, ankle socks, underwear, lightweight shoes are in here, Q-tips, contacts, deodorant, toothbrush, a bivy sack if we have to stay on the mountain because of an issue is just tucked in there. My climb stowaway jacket is in here, and that's really all that's in this side. This side over here I kind of figure is the side I try not to get into, except for the water filter, which is packed clear at the end. This side's the one I'll get into every day. But yeah, the material on the new Giant Loops is really, really super durable. Even the back, I call it the saddle piece, is a lot stronger than the older version. So excellent bags. My other version of Giant Loop bags, I'm actually going to borrow to my nephew for him to use, because he didn't have any. He didn't want him to have to spend the money, so I'll let him use those. Exhaust, stock expansion chamber. 2.1 turbine core FMF with a spark arrestor. You need a spark arrestor in Idaho. I can't really think of much else on this bike. It's ready to rock and roll. Trail Tech fan. I just serviced the gearbox oil. Went over all the fasteners. She is ready to rock and roll. It's got steering dampener with the BRP sub mount. I run those on all my bikes. My Tour of Idaho bike had the same thing. Let's go over here to the table really quick. Go through my pack. F3 helmet with radio communication integrated in the helmet. We're gonna be, so we can talk back and forth. I let my nephew take my Climb Arsenal vest, and I've been riding this season with the WLF vest, and I really like this. Not near as much room to pack everything that I took on the tour, so I've had to slim down my packing a little bit. But I like the WLF pack. It comes in, I think, black and this brown color. I like the lighter colors for you don't get as hot as the black. On the front, so one cool thing about the WLF is it's got molly webbing all over it, front and back on the shoulder straps. My InReach Mini is right here, Garmin InReach Mini, with an EXO Mountain Gear InReach holster. You can look them up online. It's an Idaho-based company. Holds a 3-gallon bladder. We've got a push-to-talk for our radios up through here with the rest of the wiring in the back. I've got our radios on the back with another molly pouch that I just found on Amazon. I've got Leatherman right there. Again, that's another molly pouch. In this side will be snacks, things like that. Some hydration powders for water, beginning and the end of each day. On this side is my pistol and first aid. And I've got a tourniquet right here on this side. I carry a tourniquet because of the chainsaw. Is the only reason why I would normally probably wouldn't. In the back, the vest does come with this pouch, which is a tool pouch. I've got all our tools in there. Axle wrench, tire spoons, spark plug, zip ties, some extra fasteners. The Motion Pro titanium wrenches in there. The KTM Torx bit fastener tool that comes with your bike, at least the older bikes it came with. I've got a T-handle with some sockets on there. In this one, I've got some CO2, a small tire pump, some plugs, and fire starter materials are in there. In the top, I'll run my anti-gravity battery tucked in here. A couple of cheap rain ponchos tucked down in here. The rain ponchos are really nice. This is the cheap ones you get from the hardware store or a sporting goods store. You just throw them over, put your vest on, then throw the poncho over there and just tear them off if the wind hasn't already torn them. But they just keep all this dry in the event of a rainstorm. 3-liter bladder, I mentioned that, goes down in this pack. The Wolf does not, WLF, I call it Wolf, but WLF does not come with a water bladder, but it fits any of your major brands. This is just a Climb one that I'm gonna run in here, or Hydro Pack. So that's what's going in there. That's really about it. So Ridaho Grit 3 coming up in about a week. Can't wait to get going. Like and subscribe. If you have any questions, please leave a comment, ask me a question. I try to stay on top of most of the questions people ask, but we're gonna get it done. More to come on the video. I am gonna GoPro portions of this. That's my plan. I usually don't GoPro trail rides, but I'm gonna try it this time. And we'll post some footage when we're all done. Thanks for watching, guys.